Echo. Dave Wheeler is here with Talking Niagara this morning. So good morning, Dave. How are you?
Here I am to save the day.
Well, did you go to opera last night?
No, I went to Toastmaster meeting last night, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Vivian Little Thomas was given the 3 trophies that were supposed to be given to her. She won the area, the division, and actually she won the club, but we don't have a trophy for the club. But she won the area contest. She won then the Division L contest. And then she won the District 86 trophy. So she was given 3 big trophies last night. And all I can say is it's a good thing they didn't give them to me, because there's a lot of recyclable metal in there, and I think a scrapyard would have given me some good coin for it.
There we go. Yep. Yeah. Well, actually,
I'll just aside. Like, I tried to get a hold of the newspapers and tell them about Vivian. I get nothing. It was just like they ain't interested. I mean, one of their own city people has made this accomplishment. No one in the Niagara region has ever done this before, particularly from and we're not even an advanced club. You would expect this from an advanced club, but no. So we have a talented speaker that rised above. She hasn't even really been at it this long. Usually speakers who win these things have been around for a while. She's only been around for maybe five years as a Toastmaster, and she killed it. And yet try to get the Niagara Falls Review or Niagara This Week interested. And it's no.
No, you know what it is, Dave. It's not football. It's not going to the NHL or something like that, you know?
I seriously wonder if they have to get off their chair to find out, and that might be the reason. But no, you know what? I said before, we're not going to be critical, criticize people, and I already forgot my my own rule there. Yeah, so I don't know why. I just don't think they read their messages. I think pretty much nowadays the boss tells them, do this, do that, and don't have a mind of your own. I think some of the journalists would like to have a mind of their own, like Paul Forsyth did, but I think most of them, like the guys, are out of town now, and some of them. I'll try the review one more time, but
try to talk to John Law.
Well, I've done that before. I've sent him messages, and it's gone nowhere. Like a couple other journalists have been pretty good. I think Rizzuto. God, I got a brain.
I tell you what.
Tony Rizzuto. He actually responded to a question I had once about a Chinese food restaurant, but it wasn't for any article. But at least he did.
Okay, go up the chain. Go to somebody at the Star. Go to somebody at the Globe and Mail.
Yeah, maybe.
Region 86 covers that area as well, right?
Yeah, well, Hamilton has been, in years past, when I was a union guy, the Hamilton Spectator helped me out when I was trying to fight union business. And actually, in those days, I was trying to keep Nanaco coal-fired station open, and everyone was thinking, "What are you doing? You're kind of doing the wrong thing." But I had the right reasons. I would say that our carbon footprint was like at the most 18% of that which our neighbors were. So we weren't really polluting that much. We happen to have the biggest coal burning fire plant in North America, but it only added up to about 18% of our own pollution. Most of our own pollution came from the United States, over 50 of it.
Yeah.
And 50% of it. And I said that if you close that down too quickly, like I didn't want it to stay open forever. I wanted it to stay open at least to 2015. They closed it in 2011. I wanted to keep it open to 2015 because power. because when you get rid of the coal burners, the price of power went way up.
Yeah.
And that chased away industry, and of course, being a millwright and looking for industry, not wanting to chase it away. But my arguments were unheeded.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get on. Oh, I wish you well with getting that publicized. I think you need to kind of push, maybe push it up. As I said, you want to go to Toronto papers. Maybe you can get them to bite.
Well, I think we're going to ask Lori Lococo. Maybe I was talking to one of my Toastmaster buddies, Jerry Tullio. Her and I were thinking, what can we do? And we thought that maybe we can get it acknowledged. In the beginning of the
City Hall
meetings,
yeah.
the City Hall meetings, they have the mayor makes acknowledgements.
Oh,
well,
good idea. Good idea.
Yeah.
It should be, and that's pretty good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
So I think maybe even we'll have to hurry up and figure out how to make a Vivian flag so we can have that put up too.
Yeah. All right.
But she did a great job, everybody. I just got to point that out. She hasn't really been at it that long, and she's gone out there and she's done a lot of work. And last year she had incredible disappointments when the electronics didn't work online, because we had to do it online back then because of COVID was still a threat. And she got completely ripped off after working month after month on the speed and winning the area and the club and the area. And then when we went to division, which she had won before, when before COVID hit, the electronics goofed up and they only give her 5 minutes to fix them, and it wasn't even her fault. And then so she was disqualified. And yet in the area contest, they gave another person about almost 20 minutes to fix everything up and find out. So it was, anyway, the ship has been righted. Let's put it that way. It's not listening anymore. She's full steam ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So Niagara politicians and the business community react to the announcement that an EV separator plant will be built in Port Colborne.
I want to learn from metaphysical Mike here on this one. Will this add a lot of pollution or potential pollution to the area?
I think so.
I read up about I tried to read up about the separation plant. I don't know how many jobs we're going to get out of there. I try to read. That was a couple days ago, though. A few days ago when Mike first mentioned it.
It does. It was both the articles that I've seen are very brief on that. I don't see any. Normally there's a thing that says it will guarantee 500 jobs or something like that.
Yes, it'll guarantee 500. But nothing's happened like that. This is Honda, though. Yeah. I mean, if Honda's taking the bait, it's not like Honda's taking the bait and build something here. It was thinking of putting something in Manitoba, and Manitoba must bum out huge because they had some of the raw materials that they would need. But I know why Honda put it here in the Southern Ontario, because that's where all the other ones are. It's like Michigan in the car industry.
Yeah,
you had Ford, GM, and Chrysler all there. And why was it in Detroit? Why were the big three in Detroit? Because that happened to be and I think Southern Ontario is going to be one of those places. Now, our own favorite New Age sensitive guy, Justin, came for the opening of that. Unfortunately, I wish people would stop yelling outside and demonstrating against them and keeping it for what it was. Gary Wilkins, you're sounding better, Dave. Yes, I am. Thanks, Gary. I took the advice of Lori Parliament of getting a nasal spray, and that helped me. And so thanks if Lori's listening there. And of course, you know what, Gary Wilkins, I was listening to Gary on the radio the other day and on Talking Niagara, on Your City, Your Voice with Paul Amir. and they were talking about Eric Nickel. And so I was thinking, Gary, a wrestling match. The Green Bastard from Parts Unknown versus Eric Idle. What do you think?
Yes, and Mike Cushman's already chimed in relation to pollutants, etc. Yeah, we have to know what the byproducts are, and that's often what we don't look at in relation to these things.
Well, I heard they're going to have this big sign, big circular sign with a picture of Metaphysical Mike and the Green Bastard with a big circle with a cross through it. So you're not going to be allowed in there to investigate any pollutants. That was part of the deal. No Mike, no Gary, and we'll build our plant.
Yeah. Yeah, and basically they're celebrating. Obviously, it's a good point from the viewpoint of good, high-paying jobs at this plant, and so both Doug Ford and Justin Trudeau were there, as a spattering of other ministers and local politicians, of course.
Oh man, they're best buddies now, aren't they?
Not with an upcoming election, they won't be.
Dougie and Justin sitting in the factory, KISS. Well, anyway. So this is a good thing though, and as we said before, this eclipses party politics. This eclipses party ideology. I don't think Ford is much of an ideological guy anyway. I think he's more of just a practical guy. How much more money can we make for the province? That kind of thing. And Trudeau needs the votes. So this is a really good thing for both of them, and to cooperate. And this is what you should be doing. The feds in the province are cooperating on something they can agree upon. We need to grow our industry. Mike Cushman says, this is from Eric Nichols. Here is predictable answer. My questions are too tough for the city. Trust you can understand that the city does not have environmental experts on staff, nor lined up in any consulting capacity for the purposes of answering these types of questions, particularly as they relate to private property. Sorry, I won't be able to give you an answer. Thorlstone Road Extension is a regional project. They will be leading the movement and handling of materials in the... Anyway, there's Mike doing what he does best. He points out that very well. Eric Nichols did not claim that he did not know that there was all this contaminated waste material right there, close to a residential area and the old Sinemet lands. I just and nobody seems to address this, and I can understand the frustration of Mike and Gary. Nobody's listening to them, or they offer them tours and stuff, and these guys just do not go. And I think the reason why they don't go for a tour and learn about all the contaminants there is because they would then have to do something about it. And I want to know why we've got this pile of glowing contaminants sitting right there at the edge of the city, and we pretty much do the three monkey thing. Don't see it, don't talk about it, don't listen about it. That should be removed. There are places for that to go, that can be gone, and it should not be inside a city where people live and kids play hockey close by. And that's I don't know, what is it?
Yeah,
if we don't talk about it, it doesn't go away.
Commitments to clean up, right?
Yes. So look, in fact, look, I'm really gonna have to. Well, Mike's got a shillelagh, and of course the green bastard from Parts Unknown is vicious, and so we're just gonna have to scare some of these politicians. Michael club them with a shillelagh, and the green bastard from Parts Unknown will give them eye gouges.
There you go. Did you get your pitchfork yesterday? ready for the
no, they were sold out. I
were
guess there
sold
are a
out.
lot of revolutionary movements out there, and you just got to line up.
You got to line up for pitchforks, everybody, ready for the Red Revolution. It's coming. It's coming, so says Dave.
Yeah, it looks like the only right now some of the other revolutionary movements have bought up all the pitchforks, which I think is really unfair.
Well, yeah, there you go. All right. So moving on, Mr. Jim Diodati basically is saying the Falls should conduct a parking optimization study that offers an innovative approach to maximizing revenue during peak tourism season and special events. So let me summarize what this means as far as I understand it, that now the city will get involved in saying $5 all day parking. No, I mean $15 an hour parking.
Well, this is another article that Taz, aka Paul K. Lemire, and I think Gary were talking about too. It was, but Paul was talking about it, and actually we had it in our list to talk about even before Paul had talked about it, but we just didn't get to it yet. So the mayor seems to be very, very excited. He seems to have been schooled in how to maximize parking revenue, and he sees lots of money coming this way, and he talks about a dynamic system where the prices change continually depending on demand.
I think it's a good idea, but the trouble is the thing about the city was when it comes to city parking, realistically, well, they already do change, the parking down at the falls. If you're going right now, it's probably $15. You go in peak season, it's probably $25 to $30.
Yeah, so I don't know if and then we have to determine there's a difference between the Niagara Parks parking lots too and the city parking lots.
I know.
I don't. I can understand where the mayor is coming from, and this is what he's talking about, the dynamic pricing. Depending on the demand, it goes up. But as a person that's being a tourist, one of the things that drives me insane is overpriced parking, or what seems to be overpriced parking. When the demand goes up, all of a sudden you have to pay a lot more, and you're going to do it because you've got no choice. And because now you got a car, now you got to put it someplace. You come all the way down here, and that's the first thing you're clipped for. Somebody charges you what, $50 for a couple hours, $50 or $75, or if you're at the casino, $100. So the first thing is it puts a sour taste in your mouth right off the bat. And I remember things like that when I go when I tour. I'm still bumming out about a tourist tax I had to pay in Rome. I mean, I'm staying at a dump, and they're charging me a tourist tax. I'm thinking, really, this is off season, and I'm getting a tourist tax.
Again, here's an interesting one. In Kenya, I went to a couple of places in Kenya, and it's like there is a price for Kenyans and there's a price for non-Kenyans.
Yes, and that's what we should be doing here. The hometown people, but still, my point.
I don't mind this.
Was the negative? I think it should be more positive, a positive thing. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, as you know, my internet failed on me yesterday. And I finally got around to phoning Kojiko because I expected a long, dreary process of being on the phone forever and being put to this person and that person. So I left it as long as I could. I did a few other things, and I got on the phone, and there was this sweetie called Valentina, a young woman, and she was fabulous.
You
She
froze.
stayed on the phone for me for a long time. She stayed on it while I checked to see how my YouTube was working, because I get it through the smart TV and all kinds of things. I don't know, she was over half an hour, I bet you. And we made sure everything was done. And and then she's going to send me a couple of cables in case if my connection with the TV would be better if it was hardwired. Unbelievable. I've never had that kind of customer service before. Not to say I've had haven't had good before, but nothing that good. And she made sure that everything was working and the speed was up. She had me do speed tests, the whole darn thing. And
We
I
just
have to
froze
say,
there, Dave.
what?
We just froze. Completely froze.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're not still frozen. You just came back again. We froze for about 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, you have froze to me a couple of times, so I don't know.
Yeah,
but just briefly.
yeah. Okay, that was weird. That was very weird.
Especially when I was talking about cable connections and internet connections. Anyway,
okay,
so I would just say that, and the reason why I brought up how my fabulous experience with the Kojiko lady Valentina and the care in which she made sure that I was my internet was working well. That's the kind of thing you have to have here. When you charge somebody or burn them for as much money as you can, it really puts a negative feeling in the person.
yeah.
You know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
person wants to be felt fair. So if you're charging $20 in at night and you're not charging $20 during the day, you're charging $50 an hour, you feel like you're getting burnt, and it puts a real negative feeling in you. If you are being treated fair and you're being welcomed, here's some reasonable parking for you because we want you to come here and park. I don't think the mayor sees it that way. He sees it as maximizing revenue rather than maximizing.
I understand why he wants to maximize revenue, because obviously parking as a revenue stream is an important revenue stream for the city, right? But I think that we need to look at it maybe two-tier. There's parking for Niagara residents, which could be had at a different rate than parking for tourists, for one. The other question that I'd also have is bugged me for quite some time, because I remember going to, and I can't remember where it was one time. I remember going to this place and tourist city, and in the middle of a season, and it's like, we couldn't find parking, but why couldn't I find parking there? I asked the hotel person. He said, yeah, all the parking's free downtown. So yeah, you'll have a lot of difficulty finding parking. In fact, people search out the illegal paid parking lots out the back of the town. And he told me where they were, right? And they'll pay on those paid parking lots, the illegal ones, because there's so much parking that's free. You have to be there early morning.
Well, I'll go back to this, what I was trying to make a point of before. When you have a tourist and the tourist comes out and feels that they have been treated fairly, and they have and that the tourist operators cared about their experience, like my own experience there with Valentina and Kojiko. Wow, I felt like $1 million. I felt somebody really did care and wanted to make sure that my service was running well. I got the idea that they wanted to make sure their customers were happy, and of course, for their own sake, of course. But
of course,
you want, when you do that kind of thing that the mayor is asking for, is dynamic pricing, where suddenly a family of 5 comes rolling into town and they want to see the falls, but it's a little busy that day, so they get dinged for $100 for parking, and they have no choice. They feel more like a victim. But if somebody comes along and says, we're going to charge you $20 like we did every other person coming in here, that because it's fair, and we want you to come here, we want you to have a positive experience, and we want you to park here. So what's going to happen if you ding them for $100 or $50? They're going to come that once, and that's it. If they leave feeling they've been treated fairly, they'll come back again, because it only costs $20, and so they come back and they spend some more money, and they tell their friends how great it is.
You see, actually, here's an interesting thing you said about, and I know you were only picking a figure out of the air, but you said, for example, if they were paying $100 for parking, and let's say they've got a $300 budget for while they're here, and $20 of that budget was for parking, right? So they got $300 budget for while they were here. Guess who's not profiting out of their stay here is, there's some of our attractions are not profiting, because suddenly, all of a sudden, this $300 that they had is now only $200, and they've got to cut down on where they're going to.
That's a very good point, because now you've sucked the money out of them for parking, and that's going to be they're maybe not going to go on Hornblower that time, or maybe they're not going on that ride. And their kids are bumming because they're not going to be able to go on that big Ferris wheel because they had to pay too much for parking. I just don't see. I see it in a purely Machiavellian sense. Stick them while you can stick them. They have to pay, so they're going to pay. But I would like to think of it as a different way altogether. That you will be treated as fairly as you can. You want to make it affordable. Yeah, you may not make as much revenue as you think, but you sure could. Bolster the reputation of the town, which has a reputation of being like huckster pickpocket type place.
Yeah, we already have a bad reputation that way. We know this is, how long has the term rip off Niagara been around? It's been around forever. We know this.
Yes, and I think that, and having been a tourist and a traveler in a lot of different places, anytime I feel like I've been being treated fairly, and that I want to come back there, I feel good about the place.
Yeah.
I feel that I got a fair price for my accommodations. I got a fair price for parking my car, anything. But when you get into a situation, like I said, like imagine if coming down here with your minivan full of your own kids and maybe the neighbor's kids, and you come down to enjoy the falls, but you're getting killed by parking fees, and then you're getting killed by the food prices, where you get the worst possible hamburger for $25. And this is the kind of thing that sticks with you. But if you come and you get $8 hamburger, and it's a really good one, and you pay $20 for parking because they want you to park there, they want you easy access to the falls, that puts out a positive vibe, and I don't think you can buy that positive vibe. And if those person, and just like you said, if they're paying if they're paying $100 for parking or whatever it is, then they've got less money for the business in and around. And at the end of the day, when you go home, I ain't coming back here. It's too expensive.
Yeah. And that's the worst aspect of it, And I appreciate that, that one of the revenue streams the city has is from parking revenue, and particularly once you're talking about Easter to October 31st, right? That's basically the primary revenue stream of the city at that point. But there's a question about reasonableness always.
Yes, and Paul came up with an idea that a lot of people have come up with. Basically, is city has parking lots, And the city being the city, of course, it's government, and they should lease these to just lease them. Wash your hands of it. You don't have to have an operator or anything. Just lease it to somebody else to do it. And then they can use dynamic pricing or anything else they want to do. But you get your money up front from whoever you lease it to, and that works. But in my mind, you want to make it as fair as possible, and you want people to come back. And I think that's because Niagara Falls is so famous and worldwide. It gets lost on the Niagara operators. Really, like when I lived downtown there was a few bed and breakfasts there. They had the same people come every year. You know why they had the same people come every year? Because they got a fair price and they liked it, and the people were nice to them.
And exactly, they would book. They'd come to you this weekend, and then as they're leaving on Sunday, they'd be saying, "And Dave, we're doing the same week. We're doing the May 24 weekend next year. Okay, put us up for room 3. We like room 3. You know that we've been here a couple of times before. We'll see you next year."
And what do happy people do? They spend money.
Yeah, exactly.
They spend money because they're in a good mood.
Yeah.
But if you get a zing for high price of parking or food or that, then you're uneasy. You're holding on to your coin.
People come on holiday, particularly the middle class, or you call them a pinch, who are already at a pinch. They come on holiday with a budget, right? With a budget in mind. They're not going to come here and spend thousands. They've already got a specific budget that they have already, put through them. They've decided upon, right?
Yes, and that includes lots of Chinese souvenirs and all that kind of thing too. But in the long run, what do you want to do? You want them to feel that they have been treated fairly.
Yeah. And actually, there's another issue about that is gridlock. The gridlock we've got with the new expansion of the city being built, expanding out in ways that it was never really built for. Mike makes a good point, and that have a tourist impact as well. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's true too. And as a matter of fact, traffic has always been a problem. I think opening up more and more out of city parking lots, basically, or off-site parking lots, for people then to jump on public transportation to get in and around. I think that also should be very inexpensive. I think the GO transport is fairly inexpensive and reasonable. That's the kind of idea you want. Let somebody park maybe not right in town, but they can get the WeGo bus and come right into all the different spots.
Well, actually, that's an interesting concept as well, that you could actually have and I'm not saying specific sites, but for example, out where the old Canadian Tire used to be at Thorold Stone Road and Montrose, there, for example, if you built a parking lot there, that you had like 300 cars in, that was fully secure, etc., you could run you could park there for the day for say $30, and have a shuttle bus that linked to the GO system, that you buy the standard GO tickets at that spot, so you could go to the booth there, buy your WeGo ticket, WeGo tickets, and go from there.
Yeah, basically, like the casino does, kind of. They have the off-site parking.
Yeah, they have off-site parking.
And I can't stress this enough, that when you come into town, like you want to feel like the towns welcome you, and they're going to make things easy on you and how to get around. And if you get around, and believe me, everybody knows I spend a lot more money when I feel comfortable that I've been treated fairly I feel easy about opening my hand and the money flies out. But because I'm in a good mood and just because I felt that I've been welcomed. But if you keep stabbing the tourists for money everywhere they turn, then you're going to put a better taste in their mouth, and they're not going to spend quite as much, and they're going to think twice before they come down the next time. You want them to come down every weekend. Really, you seriously, hey, how about going down to Niagara Falls? Because it's affordable. You can go there, but no, we don't do that. And I think
that's an interesting question.
We can fill this town up during the whole year that way.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because as it stands right now, it's what you get is a family who go, oh, we haven't been to Niagara Falls, well, one or two options. We haven't been to Niagara Falls ever, and it's only 200 kilometers away. We might as well go. Or you might get the family that's, oh yeah, it's a long time since we've been to Niagara Falls, way before COVID. Yeah, I think it was probably about 2015 we went there last. Why didn't we go to Niagara Falls? Right? Either of those people who come into the city and suddenly there's $100 bill for parking. I'm not saying that that's what the city's thinking about, but suddenly they're going, oh, I didn't know we were going to be paying that. And inflation is causing everybody to put prices
and part of this too is smaller parking spots. Did you read that part too? Like they're talking about smaller parking spots.
Yeah, I saw the bit about smaller parking spots, and hey, I like what they put up in. I like what I've read about what they put up at the exchange. Do we need more parking? Yes. The interesting thing about the exchange is they probably right across the there's a lot. There's an area underneath those electric stuff where they could actually put parking, isn't there? They could put a parking lot down there.
Yeah. Oh, maybe, yeah. But the fact of the matter is, and that was another point that Taz was talking about too. There's this pressure on each building should have 1.4 parking spots per person, and if you do that, then you're going to have plenty for visitors and everything. But they're trying to change the rules where they make the parking spot even smaller. So they're trying to change the rules where the parking lot becomes smaller at a time when people use SUVs and trucks more than ever. And even that, what does a family do? They'll probably use a minivan or something like that. So you're asking them to go to smaller parking spots, physically smaller parking lot spots, and so this trend is going to backfire, and you're going to get more scrapes and scratches and stuff like that in the parking lot. So I think, like, if you look at it just mathematically, cold hard facts, yes, we can shrink the size of the parking spot, and we can shrink how many or reduce the amount of guest parking spots or visitor parking spots all over the city, and that can spill over into the municipal parking lots, and if you can squeeze another 2 spots out of them and charge them as much as you could possibly charge them if it's a crowded day. What does that all sound like? Terrible, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What kind of a feeling does it give you? I'm an animal. They're trying to treat me like an animal.
Yeah, I prefer that we have. Well, he used the term Costco parking lots, right? The Costco parking lots are actually, I like the size of the Costco parking ones. They're, they basically give you adequate room to get in and out of the vehicle, and put your stuff in and out the vehicle when you come shopping. Now, I know you don't have the same problem necessarily when you're at the exchange, but maybe you did buy a piece of artwork. And how are you going to get that piece of artwork in the car? Well, I was going to stick it in the back seat, but I can't get my back seat door open wide enough in order to get it in.
Well, basically, when you go to a place and you find a parking spot and it's easy to get in and it's easy to get out of your car and in your car,
you feel
and
good.
the person beside you, you're not worried that their door is going to open and put a dent in your car.
Yeah.
Because there's enough room for people to get in. What does that make you feel? It gives you a pretty good feeling, and Costco knows what they're doing. They want to make it easy for the people to get in and out of their store. They want people to feel comfortable. The first thing they want to do is, and the first experience you get is to go to a Costco parking lot, and you've got ample space to put your vehicle. And you got ample space to open the doors. First positive experience. Now, if you were to go in there and you were struggling trying to find a place, and the parking spot was a little bit narrower,
you might have to circle around a bit to find a space in Costco, but we accept that as part of the course these days, don't we?
Yeah, well, you're not going to. So somebody's not going to go to Costco. Well, you can make 2 or 3 more spots if you shrink the size of them. They're going to tell you, no, that's contrary to our philosophy here. We want you to feel comfortable and welcome. We don't want you to start stressing out about the size of your parking spot.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I like the fact that they've got double lines around them. You know, they've essentially got they've deliberately painted double lines to give extra space.
Yeah. So
anyway,
in the conclusion, though, with the parking lot thing, and I think the mayor is being completely Machiavellian, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean just super realistic with only regarding the financial thing. But he hasn't been a tourist very often, I don't think, with a car. And if you come into a town with as a tourist with a car, and you start getting dinged, and for the operators, for the city, we can stiff this guy for 100 now because there's because we're doing dynamic pricing, and maybe we could stiff this family of 4 even more. No, what you want to do is welcome the people in, give them a nice spot where they can park, and charge them reasonable amounts, and put a positive experience there. What was that comment by Gary?
It was related to an earlier comment that Mike made about Rapids View Park, where basically they built a major parking facility at Rapids View Park across from Marineland for Go Bus system that they never got going, right?
Mm.
And that was Gary's comment upon that.
Yes. In any case, so dynamic parking, if you're just looking at gouging the customer as much as you can, and that's what it is. Squeeze them for every last dime you can get out of them. That's one. I mean, I suppose the business argument is there, but if you want that person to come back to Niagara Falls, you want to treat them fairly and make them feel that he's being treated fair.
Okay, moving on. New immigrant workers are saying their futures in limbo as the government ranking system scores have gone up and up. The example they're painting is actually about a lady from Brampton lady living in Brampton who moved from India to study business management. Since graduating, she's been working for a logistics company, and she said her dreams are now at risk now because her work permit expires in August, and she hasn't heard back from about her permanent residency application. So she came here as a student on a student visa, which got turned into a visa to work for the company that she's working for. And currently, the situation is that there's record numbers of people applying for PR cards, but they put the score to get the PR card up.
Well, the Canadian government has had a lot of problems with immigration. There's all kinds of holes in it. We find all kinds of students coming into the country, and we've heard about them going to colleges that really weren't much of a college, and then when they get here, they stay here, and that is one way in which people put their foot in the door. Now, and not leave, and I don't think that this person ever intended to leave. I think the person came and got into Canada and didn't intend to leave at all, was kind of hoping they could stay here, and did everything they could to stay here as long as they did until immigration caught up to her. And immigration is backlogged because they don't do their job very well. There's a lot of people here that shouldn't be here. They haven't crossed their T's and dotted their I's. Now, in this particular case, you have a student as came, and you know that she came with the intent of staying, and
that may well be true. But again, that she's not one of these students at a wishy-washy college. She went to a proper college. She got a good degree.
Well, how do you know?
Well, that's what.
How do you know? Where's her college in here?
It didn't tell us what college she went to, but
and what kind of job did she have? Was it based on she got the job based on because she will take less money than someone else, or than a regular born Canadian person would, or what?
No,
so there's lots of details missing here.
I grant that, but she came in 2020. She graduated. She got a job with a logistics company.
Well, who's the logistic company? Is it the logistic company? Was it a South Asian logistic company or somebody?
I don't know.
Did she get did she pay somebody to get the job so that she could stay in Canada? So there's lots of things that aren't here. Now, one of the things we do when we bring students into Canada, what we want to do is keep the best ones. And if we still have open door immigration, basically. And if you bring a student into Canada and they do well here, you want to keep that one that does well. The problem is almost every student that comes over here expects to stay here and overextends their visas and kind of just slips into the ether. So there's the criticism of the government in this whole thing about how poorly the whole student thing was being run is another embarrassment for the government. And you see that the government is running around trying to fix all these things that or make better all these things they're taking criticism for: the CBC, housing, the student immigration thing. I think you're going to find that the government is going to try to appear as if it's doing due diligence with students that come here and don't.
Part of the problem here is that in 2022, Canada accepted a record high 430,000 PR applications. When I applied for my PR card, it took basically about a month to get the PR card.
So you have 430,000 PR coming in. You also then have immigration of 500,000. So you get nearly 1 million people every year coming into Canada. And of those people who are the students, so many of them want to stay. And almost every one of them regards it as a door into Canada, how to circumvent the normal immigration procedure. I mean, we've been reading about this kind of thing now for several years, I think, on this show. So they,
Well, yeah, but
go
the
ahead.
point about this article is that at one point they, whatever okay, so what they're basically talking about in here is that the Immigration Canada's scoring for getting a PR card has gone up. So now they boosted the score in the last 5 years, so that for the average student passing their exams, it's unattainable.
But it was too attainable before, and I think that's the thing. Like it was too easy to get before, and what they're doing is just tightening things up. Now they want permanent residency, and of course that is that is one of the major things that a student comes here for, is that
Yeah,
permanent residency.
yeah,
Um, I People that come here from possibly maybe from China or other places, they may go back because they can go back to a life where it's reasonably good life, but if you're from India and you work for a logistics company, where are you going to get the kind of money you're going to get here? So
yeah.
that and it was and it's been discussed too, even by the I forget who was the article we were talking about a month or so ago, maybe a couple of months, where uh, they were talking about the problem, the student problem, and how out of hand it's got, and how you got in a situation where all these universities and that depend on foreign students big time, and they've opened their doors huge to them, but they're not really looking at the qualifications so much. They want them to come into the country, start to establish tuition and stuff like that, and then what happens to them after that? The university doesn't care. But this is where
Yeah.
the Canadian government has to step in. And that's why you've
Well,
got basements full of Uber drivers. Where these guys come from? They came
well,
they
here's
came in as a student, and then suddenly um, uh, suddenly they're not a student anymore. They're an Uber driver.
okay. So CBC basically has gone to the IRCC website and done the calculation based upon about the the based upon the what they require for a person, basing it upon a student who's gone through their degree, etc. So the requirement is to get a score of 540, and what they're basically saying here is we're talking about a person who qualified, they've got a level of education at the highest level. So they've got 120 in their level of education. They speak English, so they get the score of 136 in their English. They've got a Canadian work experience, but not enough. So they're if they can manage to get things like stay an extra year, maybe that boosts them. So at the moment, what they're talking about is once they're out of school, they're getting a score of 474. If they could add another year of full-time work, they get a score of 499, which is still beneath the 540 threshold that the Immigration Refugee Canada want.
Yeah, really. And So she says here that her dream was to open a jewelry business
Yeah,
one day, and her and her husband are going to do that. Now she is married, and we don't know if her husband is staying here on the strength of her
we
visa,
don't know.
because
We don't know that yet.
no. But it says though that if things don't go her way, then she'll have to return to India, and that means her husband will have to go too, which tells me that he's here on the strength of her residency, not the other way around. Because if it
Yeah.
was the other way around, she wouldn't be in this problem. And since graduating, she's been working in a logistics company and as a sales exec. That really doesn't tell us much about what she's doing, but and works for her husband, who is a trader, whatever that means. Both both want to open a jewelry store. Now, so they have this comprehensive ranking system. And why did you think she was going to be able to stay in the first place? Why, like, she
That's
came
a
here and
fair
she started
question.
building a life without being positive that she would be permitted to stay.
I think the issue has been that India, not India, Canada has allowed so many people over the years to actually come study here and stay. It was almost a unexpected thing, and that's of course the story that probably this young lady bought into back in India when she made a decision to come to college in Canada.
Well, we've heard a lot about the those people who guarantee students a placement in a university or college in Canada, and for a price, and they can do this easily. That they are companies that will do that. Will say, you want to be a student in Canada, we'll fix it. You give us X amount of money, we'll get you there. And then after that, but they're not screening them about whatever qualifications they have. They're not screening them on this comprehensive whatever it is. They're not doing any of that ahead of time. So they're taking their money and they're getting them in here. And a lot of them come on tourist visas, but they may come on student visas because the whole system is being very lax. Like we said before, they'll go to a student coconut college. Like they'll go to the corner store. As a matter of fact, a person that I know has a convenience store, and they hired South Indian students to work in the store, and they stole. They stole. That's what they did. They came in and stole. They found a way of stealing money without registering the sales. They know there was a camera on them, and how many of that's going to happen? Because look, you get somebody that's come over, and they come in as a student. They say they're a student, but what they wanted to really do is start to work somewhere, and so you let them start to work, and
well, actually,
that maybe is what they really want. They're really not much of a student, but they want somebody to give them a job, and once they get a job, they get money coming in. Now, I'm not saying all of them steal or anything like that. In this particular case, it happened. But if somebody's coming over here as a student and then starts stealing right away from where, what kind of screening process do they have over in India or anywhere else for that matter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the thing is, actually, one of the things I investigated when I was young about going to university in America. And actually, one of the things I discovered about that is not only were the fees about 5 times what the American student would pay to go to the same university, do the same courses I was looking at doing, but that I couldn't even go get a job at the local bar to actually pay down some of those fees.
Yeah, and but that's not the case here. They're trying to encourage the students to come in and work. They want that to happen. Now, ideally, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to open your doors to foreign students. And in a place like Canada that needs immigration, then you pick the best ones out of that lot. So those people, now, of course, just about everybody in the world that comes here as a student wants to stay here as a resident thereafter. But just about every one of them are doing that without being properly vetted. That's
okay.
That's the goals they're trying to stop up.
We don't know who the company that she's working for is, but surely this is a case of the company should be able to actually intervene and request a visa for her to continue to stay.
Well, the company may belong to a relative of hers.
Well, that's a different
maybe
matter.
A friend or a relative. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like the Polish guy that's like 70 years old and he marries a woman that's 19 years old so she could come to Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing happens, and I think that kind of thing happens everywhere where you get your neighbor, your cousin, or something, and you got a job for them and make it look good. It doesn't really say what she does.
It doesn't. It doesn't say
Canadian
that
bachelor's degree.
It doesn't say that, but again, if it was a company, if it was a reputable company, let's say a FedEx or something like that, or a trucking company or something, then you would think that they would actually they'd be able to make a submission to Immigration Canada to actually get her to stay.
Maybe, and I don't think she hasn't left that stone unturned. But
well, it doesn't discuss it here, of course.
no, it doesn't, and it's very, it doesn't really tell much about what her job is, and why did she think that when she became, after her bachelor's degree, why did she think it was okay then to start working full time? Why did she think that was okay?
Yeah, okay.
She knew it wasn't okay, but did it anyway.
There's another, of course, question about this, and this relates back to the conversation we had yesterday about the changes at the CBC. This is a CBC article, and poor background information, poor fact checking, etc., because you're asking very valid questions. You don't know what the business is that she's working for. You don't know what the college is that she went to. You'd be
they just say this girl is wonderful. This young lady's wonderful. She's got a bachelor's degree and she's dug in and got a year's worth of work experience. But it doesn't say, was she allowed to do that? Was she allowed to continue to work after she got her bachelor's degree? She was here on a student visa, obviously. Well, she's not a student now. Well, how come she's still here? And without getting the proper paperwork. So those things are left unanswered.
Well, and plus, if you knew that she was working, you see, absolutely, it would make a difference if you knew she was working with a large logistics company, let's say like FedEx, right? Your question about does she work for her cousin's logistics company versus does she work for FedEx? You'd have a different attitude, right?
Certainly. Now, look, we do want the best and brightest to come here, of course. The problem is that the government has left this become lax. It was a cash cow. All these students coming into the country was a cash cow. But what has happened, and let's put it a different way too, a lot of these so-called students come here and they are then lost because they go to Joe's Coconut College in the corner mall over there and find out that there really isn't much of a university or college anyway. They don't have anywhere to live, and a lot of them, but a lot of the other ones know that Joe's Coconut College is a scam anyway. It doesn't matter as long as it got them into the country, and then they can start doing their Uber driving or whatever. And I would like to just point out here too. I want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm quite impressed by the South Asian community we have here in Niagara. They're all working. All the young people are working all the time. I don't see anybody idle at all. The kids the young people are working in the grocery stores or delivering stuff all the time. I see them working steady. So they didn't, they hit the ground running when they came here. When their families came or immigrations, they start working right away. They're the ones that are paying for our transportation, our buses. They're the ones that are using them. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that. Now we're talking about this young lady who happens to be from India, and we're questioning the validity of her claim to stay here. I don't want anyone to get the idea that we don't like Indians.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. All right. And I think that's where we're going to have to leave it for today.
Yes, indeed. And everyone, another big cheer for Vivian Little Thomas, who has done the remarkable thing of winning District 86 speech contest. No one in the region despite having over 75 years of Toastmaster presence in this region, has ever come close to that. And she's done it after being a Toastmaster for a very comparatively short period of time. And she may be in the world, depending on how they screen her video of her speech. Everybody's very excited. And last night we had the division director and another dignitary there at our little club, and it seemed so funny that our little club, and there's these 3 huge trophies there. And
come on, Honeymoon City Toastmasters is not a little club. How many ribbons are on the club banner now? On the 2 club banners?
We're lucky if we get 20 members, and we're an ordinary and not an advanced club.
Yeah, but you're getting
we have been in the wilderness for a very long time, particularly when you look into how many laurels. Well, we've had the laurels that are typical that they give on your banners, but I mean, as far as contests and stuff like that, no, we haven't.
Yeah. No, I wish Vivian, Vivian well. I truly believe that she could actually make it if she can get to the Worlds.
Well, yes, and she said I was her coach. Mariana Burka was her trainer. Basically, we call it like that. I call her the champ, and I spent lots of hours listening to Vivian do her thing, and she gives me a lot more credit than I deserve. And she said she's going to when she wins, she's going to tell everybody about everybody who helped her, and she's going to mention my name very strongly and sing my praises. So when I go to the World Championships, I was going to listen to Vivian's speech, but now I'm going to listen to her acceptance speech.
All right. So I think we can end it there. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day. And Dave?
Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace. Pray for peace.